Hello, I think you can hear me now. So I may have some people online. I can see a few names there, and feel free to type in a question on the Q&A page. My name is Mike Heppel. I'm the course leader for BTEC Popular Music. Unfortunately, we can't have the usual sort of open evening tonight where you would have come in, wandered into my classroom and seen the drums and the guitars and the bass and things like that, and we could have had a chat and a bit of a jam. But I'm in my music room at home in Darlington, and I've got slightly less guitars than I would have in my classroom, but I've got a collection of guitars in here, and there's a piano behind me, and there's a picture of Jimi Hendrix in Darlington from 1967. So we've got a few things we can chat about. I'll tell you a little bit about the course for a few minutes, and then hopefully I'll have some questions from you that I can kind of answer live, hopefully. So thanks for that, Ollie. Yeah, I've took the mute off. Brilliant. It's a BTEC course. So that's like any other BTEC, that implies quite a hands-on experience. If you do BTEC music, it's going to be, with most courses at QE are 5 hours a week, but you would have at least 4 of those hours a week you'd be spent playing guitar, playing drums, playing piano, bass, singing, whatever your skill is. And it tends to be a very practical experience. So you'd be in a classroom. Typical lesson would be you'd perhaps be in a classroom with maybe have a piano player over there, a couple of drummers, bass player, maybe 4 or 5 guitar players, and 2 or 3 singers. And that will be a typical kind of class arrangement. And generally, we're working on a song of the day. You know, we're working on a new arrangement of a song. Initially, at the start of the course, we're doing fairly famous, iconic songs. We have to do one from each decade. And so just last week, for instance, we were doing a U2 song, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. And this week, we'll be working on a song by Radiohead called High and Dry. And generally speaking, we're trying to kind of copy the record initially, try and work out what the ingredients are. So the drummers are trying to play the drum pattern that the original drummer would have played. The guitar players are trying to play the original guitar part, etc. But eventually, as we move through the lesson, we'll start to put our own spin on it. It might be that we're going to change the key to suit the singers. It might be that we're going to kind of maybe give it a slightly heavier feel, rock it up a little bit, or equally, maybe we're going to give it a slightly more laid back feel. And it depends a little bit on the people in the group and their tastes and their talents. And it depends a little bit on where we are in the course. So generally, my role's a bit like that of a producer in a recording session. I'm trying to get the best out of people in the room and trying to make suggestions of how we make the song better and give it our own feel. And certainly, say on a Wednesday morning when I have 2 first year groups back to back, it might be that group 1 end up sounding slightly different to group 2 because we're trying to tailor the arrangement to the musical skills of the people in that group. So it's quite a hands-on, practical course. It's every unit we do is linked in with the music industry in some way. I'm just a part-time teacher at QE. I'm a professional musician in the rest of my time, as is Steve McGarvey, who teaches 1 lesson a week as well. You might meet him in the A-level music session afterwards if you're staying online. So we're usually gigging every weekend until the COVID crisis, and working and learn about music as we go. You know, I'm 51 now. I've been playing music for nearly about 40 years, but I'm constantly learning all the time. And often I learn things from the students in the room too. So imagine the scenario: you play bass, drums, guitar, piano, or you singer, and each lesson we're doing that sort of work. What happens in the lesson, which makes it maybe different from other QE experiences, is we have video camera and we're constantly capturing just little bits of little demos of what's happening in the lesson. And that counts as your evidence that you've been in the room, that you've been playing guitar, that you're trying to engage with this particular song and skill. And those videos get put on our YouTube channel, and then you upload those YouTubes to your own kind of coursework log. And the coursework logs most of the time resemble a bit like a diary. And it'll be like project 1 and what I did in this lesson. Here's a YouTube video. Let me explain what I'm trying to do on the guitar. Here's video 2 where I'm learning a new skill. And it's trying to kind of build up a picture of what's happened in the lesson as evidence for your grades eventually at the end of the BTEC. A lot of BTEC, bear in mind that it's the same size course at QE as any other A-level. It's not like, say, if you went to Darlington College, you might do a BTEC and that would be all you do. Your entire kind of program of study would be just on that one subject. You can come to QE and do 3, occasionally even 4 courses, and BTEC music will be just one of your choices. So you might be doing that, psychology and media with music, or you might be doing physics and English with music, or you might be doing A-level music and popular music as well, and maybe it's French or something like that. So it'll be kind of mixed and matched with all the other courses that we offer at college. It's an A-level size, still takes 2 years, still got the same number of lessons a week as any other A-level course at the college. And we do 6 units over the 2 years, 3 in each year. What else do you need to know? So if you want to come to QE, have a think about like the situation you're in now. Hopefully, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're the best guitar player for your school. You know, let's say, for instance, you're at one of the Darlington schools and you're the best player in Longfield. It might be that you're the best player, but you're just playing, maybe he's in your bedroom and occasionally meeting up with a friend and kind of jamming a little bit, but you're not having much experience of playing in the band. If you come to QE, you might be the best musician from your school, but next you might be the best drummer from one of our North Yorkshire schools, Richmond, Northallerton somewhere. And across the room might be the best bass player from somewhere in County Durham. I don't know, Staindrop or Barnard Castle or something like that. And equally in the room might be people from different schools over Teesside Way or other Darlington schools. And you get a chance finally to mix with people who are as like-minded as you, as talented as you. And you get a chance to kind of play in different ensembles, and we keep mixing it around. You might have drummer number 1 for the first 10 minutes of the lesson, drummer number 2 takes the stool. You're playing on an acoustic guitar, semi-acoustic like this perhaps, and then suddenly you're playing on a Fender Stratocaster and you've got to play the other guitar part. So we keep mixing and matching in the lessons to keep people on their toes musically and to give them the experience of playing with lots of the different types of musicians. Because sometimes just changing whoever's in the drum stool will totally change the way that the song feels, and you might play in a slightly different way, bearing in mind what you're hearing from the other people in the room. And I think that's the great thing about the course. Suddenly this thing where you've got 14, 15, 16-year-olds in the room just like you, who are just as keen on music, with slightly different musical tastes maybe, and you're all getting a chance to make music together. The only thing you need to join the course is a little 5-10 minute meeting with me beforehand. It doesn't matter if you've done GCSE music or BTEC music, a bit of an advantage if you have. It doesn't matter if you've never played a gig. It doesn't matter if you've never played guitar or drums outside your own home. All I want is a chance to sit down with you, hear some of your musical skills, work out you've got the basic skills that will allow you to do well, because this is still level 3, it's still A-level kind of standard. And that gives me a chance to get to know you, so that when I put the groups together, I know the best kind of combination of people. So that would be the start of the course. That would be your first meet with me, hopefully in person, sometime in the summer of 2021. We would do that. There may be an open evening, hopefully in Easter time, that you can come into QE and meet me in person. Around about there, I'll just pause and see if we've got a question of any sort. No, nothing yet. So I'll keep talking. We've got the other side of the course to think about is where you might go afterwards. Generally speaking, at QE, I would say about half of my students go on to something music related. Last year, I had about 5 students go to Leeds College of Music, which I'd recommend. I think it's called Leeds Conservatoire now. A couple of students gone over to Manchester to the BIM Institute there, the British Institute of Modern Music. We have connections with them. They're coming in to speak to our students, and our students have done well by going to those places. And you do a degree in a music course that's very similar to the sort of experience you have at QE. I've got a couple of students down in Brighton, just started the course there as well. Equally, half my students don't pursue music at university. They might be going off to do slightly more conventional degrees in English, maths, foreign languages, sociology, psychology, things like that. But obviously, because of the nature of the course, there's quite a lot of overlap with courses like media and art and those sort of things. And even when you go off to do a music course, there's lots of different music courses. There's a hands-on one where you're playing guitar or drums or singing or something. There's the music technology courses where you're learning the skills of how you create music in a studio environment. There's music industry courses where it's kind of closer to business studies, where you get a chance to kind of learn how to be a manager and how the music industry works. And to be honest, you probably make more money going down that route. And there's also music journalism. I've got a couple of students who are currently in their degrees doing music journalism as well. And we have a unit that's based on music journalism where we have to kind of do a mock magazine where it's like the history of pop music. So what else? Now's the time maybe to start typing some questions if you've got any about the course or about guitars or about pianos or anything like that. We can just have a chat about those things. Otherwise, I'll keep telling you stuff about music and talking about music. I'll just check. There's no questions at the minute. What jobs can you get from music? That's a good question. We've got, like I said, some people will go into the music industry and be working in the same way I do, in that like every weekend you might be performing live and you're not necessarily going to be famous, but the skills that you learn in 2 years of the course are kind of transferable skills that can lead to money. A lot of our students might have part-time jobs in a supermarket or a pub or a restaurant or something. Equally, once you've got the skills, you could be playing in pubs, you could play in gigs in pubs, and instead of getting, I don't know, £6 an hour as a bar person, you could be getting £100 a night for being a guitarist or a singer. So there's that kind of immediate reward where you can play music professionally on the local circuit. So there's that route. There's the route, like I've already mentioned, where you might go into music journalism and you're kind of writing about music and you're researching music, and you can kind of go down that route and essentially be a writer. You've got people who are given music tuition lessons. Again, you might have a part-time job where you're only £5 an hour. You could be giving guitar lessons and getting £20 an hour easy, £30 an hour just for giving guitar lessons. So there's always ways you can make money that way. Ideally, we all want to be famous and make records and earn millions doing that. But that's just the tip of the kind of iceberg of the music industry. Music industry, remember, is our biggest export industry in Britain. We sell music to the rest of the world, and for every famous person that you can name, there's probably 200 people who are working in the industry below them who are nameless, who have various jobs. Just being the roadie of someone who goes around the world with artists. I was talking to the roadie for someone, I think it's called James Bay, is the artist, and I was talking to roadie in Newcastle a few years ago, and his job's just to travel around the world and look after his guitars and make sure everything's all right on stage, so that when he gets on stage and strums a chord, it sounds nice. So there's all those sort of supporting jobs as well. Good question though. I might come back to that in a little while. I'll see if there's some others. How many people normally take popular music? In first year at the minute, I've got 2 classes, and there's a class of 14 and a class of 15, and that's our usual kind of year group. There's a few less in second year currently, so there's about only 12 in second year. The year before that, though, we had 32 in second year, and generally that's the sort of number. We usually have 2 classes in each year, and there's usually at least a dozen in each class. It is equivalent to an A-level. Another question that came up there. It's a BTEC Level 3 subsidiary diploma, which is the A-level size course, and it's worth the same number of UCAS points as any other kind of A-level. So if you get a distinction in music, and most of our students do get a distinction or a star distinction, that's the equivalent of a grade A. At the minute, I have 4 drummers in second year. One of them plays guitar and drums. And in first year, I have 5 drummers. So usually, there's always someone who plays a bit of drums and a bit of guitar, and we usually try and accommodate both skills. So that answers, I think, that question. There's a question there, how is it different to BTEC? I am talking about the BTEC course. If you're talking about the differences between BTEC music and level 2 BTEC, it's just where the standards are just a little bit higher. You cover more breadth, there's more units, you're expected to be able to perform to a slightly higher standard, and there's that kind of angle. What genres of music do you play over the 2 years? We probably cover all the genres, I would think, of popular music. In second year, we have to do jazz, which was the first popular music genre, really, going back to the 30s and 40s. We do blues, we do rock and roll, we do rhythm and blues, we do Motown, we do, in the 60s, bands like kind of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. In the 70s, we do some reggae music, a little bit of kind of disco funk type music, a little bit hip hop. Usually most of my students are into kind of indie and kind of punk type music, so we usually do a little bit of that. We do kind of 90s indie and the sort of music that we've had for the last 20 years. There's one unit where the students choose what to do. So that's kind of where, you know, we get a lot of Arctic Monkeys songs and Foo Fighters songs and things like that. But the brief on that is slightly different. It's where, on that unit, it's not where you try to copy the record exactly. It's where you try and maybe give it a slightly different sort of genre feel. So maybe you might do a song by Billie Eilish, but you make it sound like the Arctic Monkeys. Or you do a song by the Arctic Monkeys and you make it sound like some sort of disco pop record. So there's a little bit of choice, certainly in the second unit, first year, where we do lots of different styles. And although you're right, jazz is very cool. Jazz, for me, is the ultimate kind of musical genre because it's the trickiest, and it never kind of stops kind of baffling and puzzling you and stuff. And just when you think you found the best chord ever, like this, someone will play a chord on a record or in a session. It's like, what is that chord? You know. And there's all these fancy chords. And the great thing is, as well, when you've learned jazz, that feeds into popular music as well. You know, you might have a kind of cool, rocky indie song, but you've got these lovely jazz chords that you can kind of put in the mix as well. That just gives it a different tone. And you're right, 7/8 jazz is absolute torture. I wouldn't advocate that at any time. Keep the questions coming. It makes it interesting for me. I like thinking on my feet. I'm trying to think if I've answered everything that we've had so far. Remember that even if you do BTEC popular music, it doesn't mean that you've got to go into a career in music. It might be just that that's something else that's going on your UCAS kind of application at university or your job application. Just the fact that you've been in a scenario where you've had to kind of work practically might be a skill that's transferable to education, further education, or your job. The fact that you've had to work with other people and communicate with other people, that's kind of all part of the thing. Got a question here: can you use your vocals not just an instrument? You definitely can. We've currently got, I would say, in first year, 6 designated kind of singers, lead singers. Perhaps a bit more actually, 8, because 2 have come out of the woodwork. And half of them play an instrument, often guitar, but there's a few that don't. The only thing I would say is it's a massive advantage if you play a bit of an instrument. Even if it's just a few sort of simple chords, you know, you can play a Wonderwall on the guitar, or you can play some simple kind of 3-note piano chords, played badly by me. It's just a massive advantage because sometimes when you're writing about music and what you've done in lessons, if you understand how kind of chords work as well, it's a massive advantage. What options are good to do alongside popular music? Another good question. There's a nice overlap with media, because media overlaps a little bit in terms of, you know, music is a form of media and there's music involved in lots of aspects of media. So that's a popular combination choice, either of the courses. Film studies is a popular one with students who do my course. Again, very creative. Art, lots of music students do art. But equally, I've got someone in my first year class who's doing double maths, further maths. I've had people who are doing kind of physics and chemistry. There's certain courses at college that are very popular anyway, like criminology and psychology. So I usually have a few students who are doing those sort of things. It really suits, it's really down to you and what suits you. Can you take 4 A-levels including popular music? In some circumstances, you can do 3 A-levels and popular music. Okay, there has to be a sort of exceptional circumstance for that, because sometimes people have to do, say, 2 A-levels because of their career route, you know, particularly further maths, or they've got to do, if you do physics, you've got to do A-level maths. And if they're a really talented musician, sometimes you get a chance to do that. But it's quite a big workload. So usually we have to double check that people have got kind of like really good grades at GCSE just to know they can cope with the workload. But every year there's usually 1 or 2 students who do BTEC music as their 4th option. So that's a good question. Keep them coming. If we've got any guitar players online, I'm currently playing my Epiphone Century guitar. It's an old kind of almost like a 1940s style guitar with just the one pickup. And it was the sort of guitar that was originally used by jazz musicians, doubles up as an acoustic guitar. So it's quite nice for that. And just in case you've got any questions about the guitar, and I can turn it on and it sounds quite nice. As an electric guitar as well. At any point, feel free to get in touch with me at QE anyway. My email address is mhepple, H-E-P-P-L-E, at qeliz.ac.uk, or just send the general QE inquiry email and it would get forwarded to me. So, you know, if there's something you realise you want to ask tonight, then feel free, just drop me a line. I'll be glad to answer your queries there. What else have I not mentioned? We hopefully you've had a chance to check out. We got a promotional website attached to our kind of QE website. If you go on there, you'll find there's some videos of some previous performances of students. You could check out that. There's also some kind of testimony where students are talking about the time on the course and talking about where they've gone after QE. So check out that web page. And there's also a slightly more in-depth kind of breakdown of the course and the things to expect if you do the course. What else? Fire off some more questions, otherwise I'll presume that you kind of you're tired of listening to me talk about music. I could talk for hours about music, it's my passion, so you know I will just keep talking until midnight if you keep me here. I'll drink a water. The picture behind me was taken in 1967. Jimi Hendrix played in Darlington. His manager was from Newcastle, so before he did his big national tour, he played some warm-up gigs just around the northeast. One at the Imperial in Darlington, which I think is called Joe's Bar now. He played in Yarm, which is down the road, and he played in Newcastle. And it's infamous, that picture, because that night someone stole his guitar from the Imperial Hotel in Darlington. And if anyone's got that guitar now, it would be worth a hell of a lot of money, probably about £100,000 at least, possibly $500,000, because it's the guitar he used on his first records. What instruments do I play? So I play all the instruments that are assessed on the course. I play guitar, bass, drums, and piano, and I sing as well. Steve McGarvey, who teaches 1 lesson a week on the pop music course, also plays piano. He runs several kind of choirs, and he also plays all the saxophones. So it's kind of, you get a chance to kind of get that quite kind of hands-on experience. I would say drums is my worst instrument though, okay? A lot of my students are better drummers than me, but the advantage I've got is I've played with some very, very good drummers, so I've always stolen ideas off them. So Ollie, it'd be nice to work with you. I could show you some things that some of my friends have shown me on the drum kit. And, you know, and there's 1 or 2 things I can play. I tend to play kind of jazz, sort of funk type drums. I'm not a very good rock drummer. So, you know, maybe there's 1 or 2 things I could show you on that instrument. We have 5 drum kits that we can use at QE. We tend to use Gretsch drum kits, but we also have a little Ludwig one, like the one Ringo Starr used, a kind of mini drum kit that's nice. I also have a kind of retro 1930s jazz drum kit that I can bring in occasionally as well. The equipment at QE is brilliant. We're really lucky. We've got some good rooms. We've got the dance studio room. That's a bit like a recording studio environment. We've got somewhere in the region of about 12 QE guitars. I tend to have about half a dozen of my own guitars there. We've got about 6, 7 bass guitars. We've got Hammond organ, 2 Clavinova electric pianos, a mini electric piano. And we've got lots of amplifiers. We tend to use industry standard amplifiers. So we've got Vox guitar amps, Marshall guitar amps, Fender guitar amps, Ampeg bass amps. And the kit is pretty good quality stuff. So QE's been really generous. For me, it's like a kid in the sweet shop. It's just loads of great equipment that I can kind of use in lessons with you. It just makes it sound so much better because we've got good gear. Occasionally people bring in their own guitars, but you don't really need it. We've got some quality kind of instruments at QE for you to use. And we try to use the right equipment for the right job. You know, I'm not going to use this if I'm playing kind of reggae or funk or rock music. I'd be using a Les Paul or a Fender Stratocaster or something like that. We've got every type of guitar that you might be interested in. Let's see if there's any more questions. We're due to finish about 7:30, but keep them coming if you've got any. This option sounds like heaven. It is like heaven. If you're a musician, you will enjoy this course. It will be something that you'll love to do. The great advantage I've got as a teacher at QE is that, like, people who do music, usually it's their passion. It's the thing they would do for fun anyway. They're probably spending hours every night at home or with their friends in the rehearsal room playing guitar, playing drums, just for fun and annoying the neighbours. And when people come in, they get to spend 5 hours a week doing the thing they love. You can take this alongside A-level music. That's another good question. Obviously, you'd be restricting your choices a little bit because most people have 3 choices at QE. And if you're going to do A-level music and BTEC music, it's kind of like you're saying, right, there's a fair chance I want to kind of go to university and do music, or that music might be my possible career route. So just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Can I do multiple instruments at once? That's a good question. In theory, I suppose I could play the pedals of a drum, the kick and hi-hat, whilst playing guitar, but that would be that would be quite hard. I'll do that for you if you come to the lesson. I used to have an ex-student who every year I have an ex-student who works for me as an assistant. I had a student a couple of years ago who used to do that. He used to play bass whilst playing drums, so he's going dum 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 with a hi-hat and kick drum whilst playing bass and playing some pretty fancy bass parts as well. So he could do that. I'm not sure if I'm talented enough to do that. Good question though. Keep them coming. We've got a few more minutes. I'm happy to answer any that you've got. I thought you meant it at the same time. Good question, OJ. So if we've got any other, have we got any guitar players online or not? I'll move over to a different guitar. Oops, there's a guitar falling over in the background. So, occasionally. Occasionally we I bring in my own guitars. This is a 1960s style Fender Strat that I occasionally bring in for students to use. Can I use slap some bass? No, I have a strange allergy to slap bass, and so I try to avoid it. Lots of my students like to do it, usually because of the Chili Peppers, and that's what kind of has led in that direction. But for me, slap bass should have went out in the 1980s along with the DX7 synthesizer, but each to their own. I don't have a bass here at the minute, actually, so I couldn't possibly do that. The Strat is quite nice, you're right, yeah, it's good. It's very nice. You could perhaps borrow that sometime. What else have I got in here? I'll show the guitar off. Big fan of Epiphone guitars. I've got about 5. So this is, kind of a bit like a Gibson ES330. It's good for kind of blues sort of stuff and rock music because of the humbucker pickups. This is usually a QA. It's just had a kind of set up and restrung, so I need to take it back in. But this is one that students get to use. Weighs quite a lot, so I don't use it on gigs anymore. It hurts my back too much. So it's 7:30. Unless anyone's got any more questions, I'll stay on for another minute. But it's been nice chatting with some of you. And like I said, email me at qeheppel@qeliz.ac.uk if you've got any questions. Thank you. And I look forward to perhaps seeing you next year sometime. Take care and enjoy your last year of school, and hopefully see you in QE next summer. Good night.